Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today we have two more great stories waiting for us, so sit comfortably and let's move on to the first one. Oops, Karen meets off-duty cop. Let me set the stage. I was in one of the big home improvement chain stores. You know, the one with the big blue logo of a house? There are a few people involved here. Me, of course, OC as other customer, MGR as manager, and of course, K as Karen. First, I was in a bit of a hurry as I had a pretty busy schedule that day and just wanted to get in and out as quickly as possible. Well, I walked around for what seemed like forever, pacing every aisle, and couldn't find what I was looking for. By the way, it was just a common water filter from what I recall. I also didn't come across any employees out on the floor, as the ones I saw were checking people out. I walked down one aisle and saw a Hispanic man. Race will be relevant later. He was grabbing some items off the shelf. He's clearly not an employee, and he's well-dressed in nice jeans and a polo. The only reason he first gave me pause was the radio on his belt, but I clearly figured it out that it wasn't one from the store, as they use some kind of smartphone-looking radio. In desperation, I said, hell, he might know where my item may be. He has the swagger of a man who's clearly been in this store a few times. So we began. Excuse me, sir. I know you don't work here, but by any chance, do you have any idea where the water filters are? They seem to have moved them again, and I can't locate any employees. He laughs. I think they keep only one employee at a time to work the entire store. I know, I tell him. It gets frustrating. Those corporate folk are always looking for a way to save a buck and kill customer service in the process. Sad but true, he says. Yeah, I just picked up some water filters the other day. Here, let me show you where they moved them to. Oh, thank you, I say. You really don't have to. Just point me in the direction. I'm sure I can get there. Some small talk followed as we went to the location, and he pointed down the aisle directly at the item. At this point, we're both standing in front of the store facing down the aisle, where from the distance we hear, "Hey you, Jose, Juan, Carlos." She muttered off like half a dozen Spanish names. We didn't realize she was hollering at us as we were just finishing up our bullcrapping. Now she's standing right behind us, gets right up into the other customer's ear, and I'm not kidding, like 2 inches away. "Didn't you hear me holler for you? I need some assistance. Do you speak English?" I turn around and see a typical soccer mom Karen dressed like she was about to go out for a night on the town. She was very out of place in a hardware store. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't work here, but can I help you with something?" he says. I guess she didn't hear the IDWH part, and she goes off on a rant. "You effing lazy bleep!" She threw out some racial slurs. "I've been hollering at you for a while. What, you can help out your own kind, but not if you're white?" I was confused as, well, I'm white, and I was getting pretty angry at this point as I'd spent longer in here than I wanted to, and now I have to deal with this. "Excuse me," I say, "but you need to calm the F down, B." At that moment, the other customer, in a forceful manner, swipes his arm across my chest, pushes me backwards in a "I got this" fashion. He's still playing it all calm, cool, and collected. "I'm sure if you calm down for 1 minute, we can get this resolved. Can you please tell me about your problem?" "My problem is all you lazy Mexicans taking all the jobs and not wanting to work. Where's your damn manager?" Now, I didn't know when to shut up, and I mumble under my breath, but still audible, "B." She then lunges for me and slaps me right across my face, hard as hell. Just then, like some ninja, the other customer grabs Kay's arm, spins her around so fast all I saw was her face planted on the floor with a knee in her back. While holding one of Kay's arms, he grabs his radio and makes a call requesting an officer to our location. The manager comes running to see what the fuss was all about, screaming, "Get off that lady right now! We've called the cops!" By this time, he's already put away his radio and had a badge in his hand and flashed it to the manager. "I've already called for a car." He looks at me with one of those "please say yes" looks. "Would you like to press charges?" Of course I do, as I rub my face. I'm not kidding. I've not been hit that hard in years. I saw stars. The other customer slowly got Karen back on her feet, and you could tell by this point she knows she screwed up bad, as she just stood there and didn't say a word. The manager asks what happened. The other customer told the whole story. A few minutes later, the patrol car arrived and everybody moved outside the store. I stayed back, decided to go grab my filters while they got it all sorted out. As I walked out of the store, I see Kay being loaded up in the back of the car in handcuffs. Let me tell you, it was very satisfying to see. The other customer had me sign some stuff. When he noticed my last name, we found out he's good friends with a lot of my family. You don't have the authority to say no to customers. This is a story from almost a decade ago now, when I was promoted to assistant service manager for a large chain health food grocery store. For reference as to what that actually means, for our store there were only 2 people who outranked myself and the 2 other managers at my same level. There was an assistant store director and the store director, hereafter known as SD. Our day-to-day responsibilities included making sure each department was getting all their work completed, making sure shelves were staying stocked, cashiering when necessary, counting money, and making change for the registers. And most importantly to this story, approving returns. I worked super hard to get that position by learning the ins and outs of the store and picking up shifts in every single department. When I was promoted to the position, I was the youngest person in company history to reach that level. I don't mean that as a humble brag, but just to illustrate that I did know what I was talking about on a lot of things. But I was young, so many people did not take me seriously. So like I mentioned before, it was my job to approve returns. If a customer brought in something for a return, the cashier would do all the work for the return, including checking for a receipt, figuring out what the problem was, and determining how they could make it better for the customer. Exchange, store credit, refund, etc. They would call me over at the end of the exchange, and I would check to make sure it was all in order. Insert a key, type in a code, and the return would go through. Now, I'd like to think I was a reasonable person when it came to what I would approve and not approve. If someone came back with spoiled food, I almost always gave them the benefit of the doubt that they stored it right and that it was a faulty product. Spoiler, it's almost always their fault. If someone didn't like the taste of something, I would always do the return. Even when something was slightly past the expiration date, I would try to work with them and maybe give them an exchange. Where I drew the line was absolutely ridiculous things. People would do things like come in without a receipt or the product and try to get a return saying something like, "I got some insert food here, and it was bad, so I threw it away. I'd like a return." Okay, sorry, I'm not going to do that. Also, if you bring in something we don't even sell at our store, I'm obviously not going to return it for you. Now, like I said, I was young at the time, so a lot of older adults wouldn't take me seriously. They couldn't understand someone so young could be the manager they wanted to speak to. So one day, an irate customer wanted to speak to the manager about a return. My cashier called me, and I do my best to figure out how I can help them. They want a return on chicken that was 3 months expired. It smelt exactly like you would expect. My cashier was almost dry heaving from the stench, so I say in my best customer service voice, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we won't be able to do a return on this today. It's obviously way past its expiration date. If you'd like, we can dispose of it for you." She wouldn't have any of it. She's now yelling about how she deserves a refund. Now, we had cameras in the store, so SD sees the commotion and comes out from his office to save the day. Read this as sarcastically as you can. He tells the lady, "Oh, I'm sorry that he was saying we can't do a refund on this. Of course we'll do that." It didn't have a barcode, so he had no idea what it originally cost, but he gave the lady a $20 gift card to the store right there. I'm fuming at this point because he just made me look like a powerless idiot in front of a bunch of customers. But we were busy, so I kept doing my job. About an hour later, he calls me into his office. I would type out the whole conversation, but it's pointless, because it all boils down to him telling me multiple times explicitly that I was not allowed to say no to a return. I was to approve all returns because customer satisfaction is more important than a little lost revenue, blah, blah, blah. I think this is the stupidest thing I ever heard, but I'm a good employee and I like getting paid, so I kept my mouth shut. I do think from the title and where we stand in the story that you can all figure out where this goes. Fast forward a few weeks. Customer comes in. During Christmas time, we'd sold little 1 to 2 foot tall Christmas trees in small pots. It was now June. This lady wanted to return her Christmas tree that now made the Charlie Brown tree look full and healthy. It didn't have a single needle on it, and the trunk was rotting. Normally, I'd tell her in the most polite way that there was no way in hell I would do that. I had specific instructions, though, and I sure as heck was going to follow them. As part of the return, and while trying not to laugh, I asked her why she wanted to return it. She told me flat out, well, it didn't do what I was expecting it to. Now, I don't know what she expected, but I personally don't buy a Christmas tree thinking that it's going to live forever. I completed the return and sent her on her way. Where did I take that Christmas tree, you might ask? If you guessed straight to the SD's office for him to find the next morning, you would be a winner. I had the next day off, but the nice note I left him explained the whole situation. The next day when I came back, he immediately called me in. I was expecting the worst because leaving it on his desk with a note was a little aggressive, but all he said was, maybe from now on you can say no sometimes. Just use your best judgment. It was one of the greatest victories ever, and it took all of my self-restraint not to say something sarcastic about how that's how it should have been all along. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.